So now we're going on. I want to do more on Cube, and we've been going over Chris Bray's book, and this still falls on these lessons still fall under the Chris Bray name, but we're sort of beyond his book now. And one of the reasons I picked his book was because it did cover cubes to a certain extent, and but pretty at the beginner level, which is what his intent was. And there really weren't any good books, I thought, on Cube, at least not ones where books that I could go like we're doing here, go over the book and have people be able to take something away. Whether you're and geared more toward the not novice but sort of advanced beginner, intermediate level, trying to reach higher to the more a stronger level, more open level type player. So we're going to cover. So we're going well beyond the book here. Now it does turn out that there was just a book that showed up at the Florida tournament last couple weeks ago by Nick Blazier on cubes, which is the match adjusted cubing, which is what we're going to go over now. It's a very good book, and I recommend anyone who's interested in that. It's more geared to more advanced levels. But it's still worth looking at. And then I also talked at the Jamaica tournament. Was talking to Michi, whose next book will be also on Match Cube. He's going to cover cube. I think 5-point. Hey, Jacob, 5-point matches in his book. So we can look forward to that. When I'm done with these cubes, we're going on to Michi's the third book, the one that we haven't gone over, what it's called, Back Checker Strategy. So that's where we're going to this now. So last time we talked about the free drop, Woolsey's law, and the free drop, and so now I wanted to talk about take points. And so, but I'm going to try to make sure that there's something that you can take away and use. The problem with take points is that, and this is how I was first introduced to them, is you get something like a table like this. And so here's the list, here's the table of take points. And so memorize that. That's what someone will tell you to do. Now, about the last thing that I want to do with my life is memorize this table of take points. And I've lived well over 50 years, and have a happy life without having memorized this table. In fact, even playing backgammon, I've really resisted doing much with this table, and I've done well enough without having memorized it. So I'm going to say here it is, and I'm going to tell you not to memorize it, because probably you won't, and you'll be just as happy with not having memorized it. But what I am going to try to do is pull out the things that are important and to know, and that will be useful. Because if you without there are certain circumstances where it's really crucial that you know what this means and what to do, when to double and not to double, or whether to double aggressively or whether to not double aggressively, or in fact, not even double at all. And those are important to know. So we'll cover those. I'm going to provide the table, and this is in the spreadsheet in the summary, Chris Bray summary, just so that anyone that wants it can have it. So let's talk about what a take point is. And let's start with, well, something else that I'd like to do is we've gone over various methods of determining whether we should double or not, and whether a cube is in order, and whether the correct procedure is a double and a take, a double and a pass, and so forth. And so the simplest and most accurate method we have is the long race. And so if you remember that, the racing formulas. This is the there was a doubling window where we had a point of last take, and then we had a point where the doubling window opens, and that turns out to be about 3 pips long. And the racing formulas, oh dear, where's my explanation of them? I think I put it in the word let me pull it up. But basically, we had a Keith count. We did determine the Keith count, and there were adjustments to the key based on the distribution of the checkers. And then there's a formula for determining when to double, what the doubling window was. And so essentially, the doubling window opens at 10% of your, assuming you're on roll, your number -1. Let me pull this out. And so that's when the doubling window is open. There's something called the point of last take. If some of you remember, let me put this closer. The Keith count adjustments and the rule of 62 for a long race. Basically, this is the section you want. The point of last take is the 10% plus 2. The doubling window open at 10% -1. So there's a 3 pip range, which is called the doubling window. You should double if you're at 10% -1. Actually, it's really, if your opponent is 10% higher, the yours -1. And it's a pass, which is called the point of last take, is 10% plus 2. So what does that mean in practice? Here on the screen we have a race, pretty simple race, no adjustments. We're at 75 pips, 10% of 75 is 7. 10% -1 is 6. And so if we're 6 pips ahead, that's where we're going to double. 10% plus 2 is 9 pips. And so this is the point of last take. And so here, the correct action is for double and a take. If you take 1 pip away, this should be a pass. Oops, take 1 pip ahead. This is a pass because we're now too far ahead. Okay, so what does this mean? Well, 22.5% is roughly the take point for this position, and this is for actually this is for money game. We'll look at. Typically, we've looked at these for money games. So the question then is, well, what if you're in a match, and how does the score impact this? And so that's where we get to the tables. Bring the tables back on again. So, and the way to read these is, okay, for a money game, it's 21.5%. And these are roughly 21.5%. If you're, however, two-way, it's 32%. What does that mean? Well, that means that the trailer's take point is 32% wins instead of 21.5%. 32% chance to win instead of 21.5%. So let's put this aside. Here was, and this came out to 22.58%. 1 pip is worth, a little over 1.5%. So we're not, that's kind of the sensitivity here. So if we are two away, and black's take point is 32%, this is going to be a big pass. Oops, this is a redouble. This is going to be a big pass for that. Because the take point is 32%. Now let's bring it back to 32%. And now this is still a pass. I haven't gotten to 32. This is 31%. 1 more pip should be 32%. and now it's a take. So what this means for the races is that if we know, for instance, that each pip is worth roughly 1.5%, that we can adjust our point of last take based on these. So at 32%, that's worth roughly 4 pips, more or less. So we adjusted that for 4 pips if we're going to do that. What it also means is that for most of these scores, we're not talking about more than 1 or 2 pips. The baseline is about 21.5%, which turns out in the example that I was showing to be really 22. That was the point, because if you go 1 more pip, you're below that. So what that means is for most of these scores, you're not going to adjust more than a pip to your rating. And so my contention is that there's no need to memorize this table if it's for just to adjust the formula by 1 pip. So don't do it. Let's focus on areas where it's going to make a big difference. So two-way, now two-way is an interesting score because that has a very big difference, and that's worth, and in this example, about 3 or 4 pips. Two-way, three-way is 25%. Three-way, three-way is 25%. If you just remember those scores, those are an extra pip, where you're going to you have to double 1 pip sooner, and then you're going to drop basically 1 pip sooner, and that's all that means in terms of racing formulas. Now, and typically, one useful thing is to look at, and I know that, for instance, I mentioned Michi's book. Michi's only going to cover, and Nick Blazer's book, they basically only cover scores of 0 to 4, up to 4 away. Some of them cover situations where 5 away, but they don't really talk about anything longer than that. Because it turns out if you get way down here, these are pretty much the same as the money. So there's no adjustment that you need to make for the racing formulas. I would say, based on this, well, if you remember that, okay, two-way is a special score. I'll talk about that in a minute. But two-way, three-way, and three-way, three-way are 25%, and that's basically 1 pip. So you want to basically shift your W window up 1 pip. Other than that, there's not much to do, to think about, at least for the racing formulas. Even when you get into long races, you would think that you might think that, okay, if I'm way behind, that, let's put this back where it was. Oops, that's not what it was. Let me get it out again. Here we go. So 2.5%. If you go to a long race, if you're 3 behind, the window is still basically the same. This is the point of last take for a money game, and it's also if you're 3 behind. If you get up to 5 behind, it's still basically the same. At 6, it comes a little bit closer. So at 6 away, you might adjust a pip or something like that. But that, you know, if you didn't remember that, you're not going to be too far off. So what is important? Well, what does matter is redoubles are different. The Recube. Oh, by the way, this is a typical thing. This I got from the Backgammon Learning Center. This table, it's kind of the same thing. It's more compressed. It comes from Dirk Schieman's book, Theory of Backgammon. That's an interesting book. It's very, very advanced. I don't, you know, if you're really into this, then you can look at that. But it's you know, it's much more in depth and much more complicated. But he puts it in a more concise table. It's easier to see certain patterns here. But you know, as you get out, you know, long races are in this range, and basically it's the same as money. So, which is the thing to worry about. So, you know, early on in the match, you know, just use the money. Money.
Can I just ask a quick question about Dirk Schieman's table?
Yeah.
Could you bring it up again? Which player is the doubler and which is the taker in that table?
Well, if you're, I would go. This is the. Well, you can look it up. So if you're 2 away and you're doubling, your opponent's take point is 26%.
So the doubler's on the left and the taker's on the top.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I think it looks like it's the opposite of that. I think it's the taker on the left because 2-way, 4-way is 9. Oh, 17. Actually, never mind. No, sorry. I think you're right.
I found these numbers.
The other thing I found about these numbers, the numbers on this table don't always match the numbers on this table.
Well, this is what I wondered.
Yeah, and so that's very.
Do you think that table's
very
wrong?
annoying? And sometimes you would think these are symmetrical. So if you're 2 away doubling 6 away, that's 22%. And if you're 6 away, doubling 2%. Well,
I'm not convinced that Schieman's table's right.
I've tried to figure this out, and it doesn't always seem to work. I haven't figured out why, so I've decided not to worry about it.
I think it's wrong. I think he's got it. I can't understand it.
Yeah. So what I would rather focus on is let's look at some of these numbers now. These are the Recubes numbers. And you can see they're very different from you know, money, very different from the 22% roughly for money. So here's one 3-way, 4-way. And so we can see the leader's take point is 40%. So let's say that, what does that mean? 3-4-way. So the leader was 3-way and the trailer's 4-way. Okay. So, and the leader doubled. So black doubled, oops. And white's turned it around and now right is in the lead. So the take point has gone from a normal score of 22% roughly to 40%. So this is a big pass. In fact, it's a 0.8 error to take this. Well, okay, I didn't. One thing I meant to do, I didn't explain what does that mean. To go through an example of, you know, for instance, you're 2 away. Why is 2 away 32%? Okay, and so the basic idea is if you're 2 away, you're going to either take or pass. If you take, you're now 2 away, 1 away, where you're behind. I'm sorry, if you pass, you're 2 away, 1 away. So what's your chances of winning a 2 away, 1 away? Well, you're going to have to either win a gammon, which you do at 14%, And if you don't win the gammon, if you win but don't win the gammon, which is 36% of the time, then you've got to win twice. So the basic math is 14% of the time you're going to win outright. And 18, and then 36, the times when you win but don't win the gammon is 36. And then if you win the second, and so you have to win the second game, which is 50%, that's 18%. So the total is 32%. So the idea is that if you have a better than 32% chance of winning playing the game, you're better off playing the game. If it's less than 32%, you're better off giving up the game and trying to win two or win a gammon on the next one. So that's the basic idea of it. And I wouldn't go into the math on all these. It gets very complicated. But in this case, the take point is 40%. So you're better off if you're 40% or better, you should take it. If you're below 40%, then you should pass. So this is a big pass, and this is a huge pass. That's a 0.84 error if you took this, even though it's a take on a normal score. So what does 40% mean? Well, let's see when this is actually a double. All right, I moved it back 3 pips. It's still a big pass. And this is still a big pass. And so this now, and you just looking at these scores, it's 84 to 83. We're 1 pip ahead here, which is a pretty significant. We're on roll too, and it's 60-40, and it's a pass. So this should be roughly a take. Yeah, this is a take where it's only 58-41. So the take point went from 10% plus 2 to basically 0. So that's, in this case, that's like a 9 or 10 pip adjustment. So
I guess the logic there is that if it goes on 4, white can win 4 points and black can only win 3. Is that what drives it?
Yeah. Well, the idea here is that, okay, if black gives this up, it's now 8 to 9. It's 3-way, 2-away, which gives him, which puts him in a 40% advantage, 40% chance of winning from 3-away, 2-away. Okay. So this would be, I think, a key one to know. 40 to 19. 4-way, 2-ways is also interesting. 50%. And this is recubes, and again, you can see why. Obviously, it's 4-way, 2-way. So black redoubled, and now if we redouble here, it's for the match. And so if you're black, you're either going to play the next game for the match, or you can continue with this game. If you're not ahead, if you're not better than 50-50, you might as well give it up and play the next game. And 50-50 turns out to be roughly, an average roll is like 8. So this should be basically the break even. So 50. So you're 4 pips behind, and it's 50-50. So you're gonna double and pass. Actually, what white should do is redouble immediately. Okay. So all right, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. Those of you who are interested, this is the table. The Recube table is the one to know. It's more important and more useful. These scores are different, and the important thing though is that from the racing formula, you can convert them by just adjusting the window by a certain number of pips. It's roughly 1.5 to 2 pips per percent. So 21 to go from 21 to 40 is that's at about 18 pips. That's about 18%. You know, that's about 9 to 10 pips or 11 pips. And so, you know, 33% is, you know, about 11%, and that's 4 or 5 pips. And that's your adjustment. One final thing I wanted to go over, and this I haven't seen anyone say this before, but it's very easy to remember. Part of this, there's a trade-off is when you get into close scores, it's pretty important to know because you're going to make big errors if you take or double at the wrong time. Farther away scores, most everyone seems to ignore, but there's sort of a pattern here. If you look at and this is the Dirk Sherman table, where, if you look on this side, if you're ahead, if you're leading, the take point is way above money. And these are redoubles again. And if you're behind, the take points are well below money. And so I was wondering if there's some formula that you can use to sort of remember that, because it's not that infrequent when you start out an 11-point match. You're down 4-0 or you're up 4-0. And so, well, how do you adjust? So let's reset it. To money, and I think this was here. Yeah, so this is 10% plus 2. That's the point last take. So how does this happen? How does this change, say for black, when you're up 4 and you're looking at a Recube? So let's look. This is a big pass, and it turns out that the easiest estimate that I can give is that for every point difference, it's roughly, this is a take. Are you
doing doubles or redoubles now?
These are redoubles, cubes down here.
Right.
For, I think this was it. For the leader, your take point, for every point differential, your take point goes down by half a pip for each point you're hit. So in this case, this is the take point for money. And we're up 4, you're up 4. Oops. This is take point for money. Now we're up 4. And so the take point shifts back 2 pips. And so you're going to move ahead. You're going to be more conservative if you're behind. Now, if you're ahead, and let's look at this, your first double is going to be 10%, 10% minus 1, which is this. And that's the 0.021 there. So that's approximately, that's when your window opens, -1. Now put yourself ahead, and this is under your at this point. And so what you want to do is adjust this, and it turns out that it's not quite symmetrical, but this is now your redouble rate, and this is a 4 pip difference. So the formula is, the best formula that I've come up with for this is that if you are ahead by amount, some amount in a long race, over 5 away. That if you're ahead, your take point is going to be shifted down one half pip for each point that you're ahead. So if you're up 4, you're going to shift down 2. If you're up 6, you're going to shift down 3. So you're going to drop sooner. If you're ahead, you want to you're going to shift it. You're going to shift your doubling by 1 pip for every difference. So you're not going to double. You're not going to double at the normal window opening. You're going to double it at here or 4 ahead. You're going to double 4 pips. You got to be 4 tips farther ahead. Now let's look at the take points. I think the take points go for. Yeah, so we've dealt with the take points are the same. Take points are. Let's see. This is the. Let's start. Let's go back to the take points. This is the take point for normal match score. Oh, I'm sorry. No, it's not. This is the point of last take. Okay, now we go into the match score, and this is the take. This is a take. So the take point also shifts up by 1 pip per difference. This is for actually. This is 10%. Is 9.3. So 1 more pip, and then this is kind of the balancing line. So if you're ahead and doubling, the range, the window shifts up by 1 pip basically for each point differential in the game. So in this example, we were 4 pips ahead, so we're going to shift the window 4 pips, so that the point elapsed take, instead of being 10% plus 2, it's now 10% minus 2. Did I say that wrong? No, we're shifting it back. So instead of 10% plus 2, it's 10% plus 6. I said it backwards. Sorry about that. And that's the point last take. And then the window is generally around 3, is still 3 pips. Okay. All right. So obviously, this is not something that you need to practice this. You need to look at this and get in your mind what you want. Make sure you understand it. But the idea still on the recubes is that if you're ahead in the match, you're going to be more aggressive. If you're behind, if you're behind the match, you're going to be more aggressive, and if you're ahead, you're going to be more conservative. And so you've got to shift your windows for the races accordingly. And I'd say this is a little bit confusing, but I think it's manageable. You need to practice a little bit, and it's probably worth doing, because play a lot of longer matches, 11 points, 7 points, 9 points, and you get behind. It's good to know. Have a good idea, a general idea of how to adjust. Now, the next couple of times we're gonna look at the other kind of cube situations that we talked about. We're gonna look at holding games and how the take points affect holding games and match scores. We're also going to look at the rule of 4, the after the hit, where we were bearing off, our opponent was bearing off, we hit him, and then when do we redouble? We'll look at that and see how match scores, and then we're going to spend some time on position race and threat situations, because those are very important. You can make mistakes by doubling at the wrong time, and you really need to understand those a little bit. And we're going to introduce the idea of a gammon value. Here in a race, there are no gammons pretty much, and so we don't have to worry about gammons. for early cubes, has become very important, and we need to understand that how they impact it. So we'll give you some ideas on how to do that. And again, there are a lot of weeds to sift through here. We can really get deep into it. If you want to really get into it, Dirk Schieman's book is really heavy on it. But I think we can. What I've tried to do is pull away the key points, important things to remember, or at least use this one or a half pip adjustment per point differential. It's pretty easy to remember and apply. You still have to practice it, and it's a step up without too much effort. Okay, any questions? Well, Karen's here. I don't care. Did you have any announcements?
Yeah. Sorry, I was late joining, but this has been great. And like you said, Schieman's book for people who want to really try to master this is a good resource.
Let me stop.